Unlike most kids in Japan, I didn't have a dream. I wasn't ambitious. This is the guy that would direct one of the most ambitious games of all time in Elden Ring. Hidetaka Miyazaki's life in a lot of ways mimics the structure of his creations. He grew up aimless, without a specific goal necessarily in mind. But how did he go from a poor, wayward childhood to legendary game director? Being a private man, not much is known about Miyazaki outside of gaming, but he most likely excelled in school, eventually graduating from the prestigious Keio University and working for one of the biggest software companies in the world in Oracle Corporation. Prior to graduating college, Miyazaki had thought about applying to a game development studio, but eventually settled for a safer career path. Life was good, but Miyazaki didn't feel as though he was following his passion. He felt unfulfilled. But he was about to take a big risk, especially by Japanese standards. One day, Miyazaki met up with some former college friends who at the time were playing Ico. Some of you may be more familiar with Shadow of the Colossus, while Ico was the first game created 4 years earlier by the same studio, similarly named Team Ico. It was this game that Miyazaki credits for reigniting his passion, saying, "That game awoke me to the possibilities of the medium. I wanted to make one myself." The problem was that Miyazaki was now 29 years old with no game development experience and too old to take on a graduate position in a university in Japan. Prior to Bloodborne's release in 2015, Miyazaki's script editor Emo Kodaka said, "He is a unique talent. In Japan, even today, people usually join a company as a graduate and stay for life. For Miyazaki to change career and within 10 years become company president, that's unprecedented in Japan. It's inspiring." With almost no experience, Miyazaki eventually took a big pay cut and landed at FromSoftware in 2004 and was assigned to work on the Armored Core series as a coder. Also, apparently FromSoftware released a game in the year 2000 called Eternal Ring that was, believe it or not, a PlayStation 2 launch title. Although that one didn't fare as well, so... He quickly went on to direct 2 Armored Core games, and it was during this time that Miyazaki learned about a new game being developed at FromSoftware, a spiritual successor to King's Field named, of course, Demon's Souls. As he says, Demon's Souls wasn't doing well. The project had problems and the team had been unable to create a compelling prototype. But when I heard it was a fantasy action role-playing game, I was excited. I figured if I could find a way to take control of the game, I could turn it into anything I wanted. Best of all, if my ideas failed, nobody would care. It was already a failure. And I think this has been Miyazaki's main key to success. He's a risk taker. Just as he left a job that was comfortable yet unfulfilling, he saw an avenue to create something different, something unique. If it failed, it didn't matter. And at first, it did fail, completely bombing at the Tokyo Game Show, having little fanfare in Japan, and selling a measly 20,000 copies in the first week of release, well short of Sony's projections. Tying back to his game design philosophy, Miyazaki has said, "I just want as many players as possible to experience the joy that comes from overcoming hardship." It's easy to see why a game like Demon's Souls, especially when people didn't know what to expect in 2009, would fail as a quick demo. Souls games need to marinate, even more so with new players, which was everyone at the time. It's not a game you just pick up and button mash your way through. Something magical began to happen though. While Demon's Souls wasn't an instant smash hit, a grassroots movement began to develop as players had more time with the game. Players learned the combat system, overcame the initial hurdles, began communicating and giving advice on forums, and a community began to grow. Players even began writing guides. Remember those? Eventually, Demon's Souls passed 100,000 sales and was published in North America by Altus USA in the autumn of 2009, 8 months after its initial Japanese release. 2 years later, in 2011, Dark Souls released and outsold Demon's Souls in 1 week, and 10 years later, the much applauded Demon's Souls remake, introducing a whole new generation of players to the Souls franchise, sold over 1 million copies, and a year and a half after that, well, Elden Ring sold over 10 million copies in 1 month. While his design philosophy does mirror his life to an extent, Miyazaki has clarified, "I wouldn't say that my life story, to put it in grandiose terms, has affected the way I make games. A more accurate way to look at it is problem solving. We all face problems in our daily lives. Finding answers is always a satisfying thing, but in life, there's not a lot that gives us those feelings readily." And that's where the irreplaceable feeling of conquering once impossible odds comes from that is so difficult to replicate. It's one of the main reasons why so many of us, once hooked on Souls games, find it so difficult to play other titles we once found enjoyable. After the fulfillment and rush of earning a victory you once thought too overwhelming, returning to something you simply meandered through with no real resistance or obstacles becomes mundane. This of course isn't to say there isn't room for other styles of game that reward the players in other ways, but Miyazaki doesn't see problems as obstacles, he sees them as opportunities for growth.